Why does every person who genuinely awakens speak of a kind of suffering that those who remain asleep cannot comprehend? Is consciousness itself a burden we were never meant to bear? In this episode, Gurdjieff answers this profound question to end the confusion among the seekers. So, listen till the end. And if these words make sense to you, don't forget to join the community of like-minded people by subscribing to this channel. Now presenting Gurdjieff's answer from his own perspective. Let me tell you something that will disturb the romantic notions you hold about spiritual awakening. When you truly begin to wake up, not through the imagination and fantasy that masquerade as spiritual progress, you discover that consciousness comes with a price tag that no one mentions in the pretty books about enlightenment. The first payment is the death of your comfortable illusions. Everything you believed about yourself, about other people, about the meaning and purpose of life, all of it begins to crumble like ancient walls, finally yielding to time's pressure. You see yourself as you actually are, a machine responding to stimuli, a collection of automatic reactions pretending to be a conscious individual. This seeing is not pleasant. When you catch yourself lying to someone you love and watch yourself do it without being able to stop, when you observe your own pettiness, your vanity, your mechanical anger arising without any real cause, these observations cut deeper than any physical wound. The sleeping person never experiences this pain because they remain identified with their actions, believing themselves to be the righteous one, the misunderstood one, the victim of circumstances. The person who begins to wake up loses this protective cushion of self-deception. You see your machinery operating, yet you cannot immediately change it. This creates a particular form of suffering that has no name in ordinary language: the agony of awareness without power, the torment of seeing clearly while remaining unable to act differently. Then, something happens that no one prepares you for. You become profoundly alone in a way that has nothing to do with having people around you or being in solitude. When you begin to see how deeply asleep the world is, you cannot share what you see with those who remain dreaming. You watch people spending their entire lives pursuing goals that will bring them nothing of value, defending opinions they have never examined, repeating patterns that guarantee their continued suffering. You see this with the clarity of someone who has stepped outside a burning building, looking back at those who remain inside, unaware of the flames. You want to help, to wake them up, to share what you have discovered. Yet the moment you try, you encounter something that will break your heart repeatedly. Most people do not want to wake up. They resist awareness with every fiber of their being because unconsciousness provides comfort that consciousness cannot offer. Sleep means you never have to face what you truly are, never have to take responsibility for your mechanical existence. This loneliness penetrates to your bones. You cannot go back to sleep. Once you have begun to taste consciousness, the old unconscious life becomes impossible. Yet you cannot find many companions on this new path because so few people are willing to pay the price that awakening demands. Now I must tell you about a different kind of suffering, one that holds the secret to the question I posed at the beginning. There exists what I call intentional suffering, the conscious choice to struggle against your mechanical nature, to endure the pain of self-observation, to accept the discomfort that comes from seeing yourself clearly. This suffering is completely different from the stupid suffering that fills most human lives, the suffering that comes from fighting reality, from nursing resentments, from indulging in self-pity and negative emotions. Stupid suffering is the pain you experience when life does not conform to your expectations, when people do not behave as you wish them to, when circumstances refuse to arrange themselves according to your desires. Intentional suffering is the struggle against automatism itself, against daydreaming, against mechanical pleasure-seeking, against the constant drift into identification with thoughts and emotions. When you choose to remain present while someone criticizes you unfairly, when you observe your anger without expressing it mechanically, when you stay conscious during moments when your habitual reactions want to take over, this is intentional suffering. This conscious suffering transforms something within you, like fire that cooks and crystallizes raw material into something of a different quality altogether. Each moment you manage to stay present with discomfort, to observe yourself without identifying with what you observe, to accept reality as it is rather than as you wish it to be. Each of these moments builds something that was not there before. What builds is will, real will, the capacity to be conscious by choice rather than by accident. The sleeping person has no will. They only have desires and aversions that push and pull them like a leaf blown by wind. The person who practices intentional suffering gradually develops the muscle of consciousness, the ability to remain present even when everything in them wants to escape into distraction, fantasy, or mechanical reaction. Life itself is a pain factory. This is true. Pain arrives whether we seek it or avoid it, through loss, through illness, through the natural friction of human relationships, through the simple fact of being embodied consciousness in a world that constantly challenges our comfort. The question is not whether you will suffer, but whether your suffering will be stupid and useless or intentional and transformative. Here is what those pretty spiritual books do not tell you. Awakening does not end suffering. In some ways, it increases certain forms of suffering while eliminating others. You no longer suffer from imaginary problems, the endless cycle of wanting what you do not have, fearing what might happen, dwelling on past injuries. These forms of stupid suffering gradually dissolve as you become more conscious. Yet you begin to suffer from real things, from seeing the world's pain clearly, from bearing witness to humanity's unnecessary suffering, from the weight of consciousness itself. Conscious awakening allows us to bear suffering in a way that becomes luminous, generous, and ultimately sacred. You learn to hold pain without being destroyed by it, to experience sorrow without being consumed by it. The awakened person suffers consciously, which means their suffering serves a purpose beyond mere reaction to circumstances. Each moment of conscious suffering feeds the growth of something that will never die, what I call the soul, that permanent element of consciousness that can survive the death of the physical body. You discover a strange mathematical principle as you continue this work. The more you accept pain and use it to drive yourself toward presence, the less power it has to make you miserable. When you stop resisting suffering and instead transform it through consciousness, something miraculous happens. The suffering itself becomes fuel for awakening. Think of it like this. You can spend your entire life trying to avoid discomfort, running from pain, seeking pleasure and ease. This is the path most people take, and it leads to a life of shallow contentment, punctuated by periods of acute misery whenever reality refuses to cooperate with your desires. You remain a child, demanding that life be comfortable, raging when it is not. The alternative is to embrace reality exactly as it comes, to find within yourself the capacity to remain conscious, regardless of whether circumstances are pleasant or unpleasant. This path involves more immediate discomfort. You stop medicating yourself with distractions. Stop running from difficult emotions. Stop pretending that everything is fine when it is not. Yet this path leads somewhere real. The person who learns to transform suffering through consciousness gradually becomes free in a way that those who chase comfort will never understand. Free from needing life to be other than it is. Free from requiring people to behave according to your preferences. Free from the tyranny of your own mechanical reactions. Now we approach the heart of what I must tell you about happiness after awakening. The sleeping person's happiness is like soap bubbles, beautiful, fragile, completely dependent on external circumstances remaining favorable. When things go well, they feel happy. When things go poorly, they feel miserable. They are puppets whose emotional strings are pulled by every passing event. This kind of happiness dies the moment circumstances change, which they always do. The job that made you happy becomes boring. The relationship that brought joy becomes familiar. The achievement that seemed so important loses its luster. You spend your life chasing happiness that evaporates the moment you grasp it, like trying to hold water in your hands. The happiness that emerges from conscious work is completely different in quality. It does not depend on circumstances being pleasant or unpleasant. It arises from the simple fact of being present, of existing consciously rather than mechanically. When you manage to remain aware while washing dishes, while walking down the street, while having a difficult conversation, there is a quality of satisfaction in this awareness that has nothing to do with whether the dishes are interesting or the conversation goes well. Now we approach the heart of what I must tell you about happiness after awakening. The sleeping person's happiness is like soap bubbles, beautiful, fragile, completely dependent on external circumstances remaining favorable. When things go well, they feel happy. When things go poorly, they feel miserable. They are puppets whose emotional strings are pulled by every passing event. This kind of happiness dies the moment circumstances change, which they always do. The job that made you happy becomes boring. The relationship that brought joy becomes familiar. The achievement that seemed so important loses its luster. You spend your life chasing happiness that evaporates the moment you grasp it, like trying to hold water in your hands. The happiness that emerges from conscious work is completely different in quality. It does not depend on circumstances being pleasant or unpleasant. It arises from the simple fact of being present, of existing consciously rather than mechanically. When you manage to remain aware while washing dishes, while walking down the street, while having a difficult conversation, there is a quality of satisfaction in this awareness that has nothing to do with whether the dishes are interesting or the conversation goes well. This consciousness-based happiness flows like an underground stream beneath the surface events of your life. Sometimes you access it more easily, sometimes less, yet it remains available regardless of what happens externally. You can be present with joy, and you can be present with sorrow. And in both cases, there is this deeper current of satisfaction that comes from simply being awake. The word suffer actually comes from the Latin meaning to support or hold up, like an undercarriage supporting the visible structure above it. When you suffer consciously, you become part of the cosmic undercarriage, part of the invisible support system that holds up existence itself. This participation brings a sense of meaning and purpose that no amount of personal happiness can provide. You discover that you can be fundamentally okay even when you are not happy in the ordinary sense. You can experience sadness without being sad, feel pain without being destroyed by pain, face difficulty without losing your essential stability. This is not the absence of emotion or the suppression of feeling. It is the presence of awareness that contains emotion without being consumed by it. Let me tell you the final secret about happiness after awakening, the one that answers the question I posed at the beginning. The happiness you lose is the happiness of the child who believes in fairy tales, who thinks life should be easy and comfortable, who demands that reality conform to wishes and preferences. This happiness must die because it is based on lies about how existence actually works. What emerges in its place is something adults can barely recognize as happiness because it contains elements of suffering, acceptance of difficulty, and willingness to bear pain without complaint. Yet, this mature satisfaction runs deeper than any pleasure the sleeping person ever experiences. It is the happiness of being real rather than imaginary, of existing consciously rather than mechanically, of participating in life rather than merely reacting to it. When you become capable of intentional suffering, when you transform pain through consciousness rather than running from it or indulging in it, you discover that life itself becomes your teacher rather than your enemy. Every difficulty arrives as an opportunity to practice presence, every challenge as a chance to develop will, every moment of pain as fuel for the fire that crystallizes consciousness into something permanent. The awakened person lives in a completely different universe than the sleeping person, though they walk the same streets and inhabit the same world. For the sleeping person, life is a series of random events to be endured or enjoyed depending on luck and circumstances. For the awakened person, life is conscious participation in the evolution of consciousness itself, every moment an opportunity to be present or to be absent, to exist or to merely function mechanically. So can you be happy after awakening? The answer is both no and yes, depending on what you mean by happiness. You cannot be happy in the unconscious, childish way that depends on circumstances being comfortable and reality conforming to your preferences. That kind of happiness dies, must die, because it is built on foundations of self-deception and avoidance of truth. When you begin to see clearly, you cannot maintain the delusions that made that shallow contentment possible. Yet, you can discover something far more valuable than happiness. You can find the capacity to be fundamentally okay regardless of what life brings. You can develop the will to remain conscious during both pleasant and unpleasant experiences. You can learn to transform every form of suffering into food for consciousness, every difficulty into an opportunity for awakening. This is not the happiness that people seek when they begin spiritual practice. Most come to spirituality looking for a better version of their current life. More peace, less stress, improved relationships, relief from emotional pain. What they find instead, if they persist, is the death of the person who wanted those things and the birth of something else entirely. The question is not whether you can be happy after awakening, but whether you are willing to trade the illusion of happiness for the reality of consciousness and discover that what you gain is infinitely more valuable than what you lose.